Good afternoon, teachers. Welcome in the in-house training from Vaishali Center Public School, Madhurapur, Vaishali. Now we are discuss about the a sensation topic is related to Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Piaget's theory of cognitive development. There are three important cognitive theories. The three cognitive theories are Piaget's development theory, Lev Vygotsky social cultural cognitive theory, and Atkinson information process theory. Today we will discuss Piaget's developmental theory only, and rest of theories we will discuss in further classes. Piaget developmental theory. Piaget's theory of cognitive development is a comprehensive theory about the nature and development of human intelligence. It was created by the Swiss developmental psychologist Jean Piaget. The theory deals with the nature of knowledge itself and how humans gradually come to acquire, construct, and use it. Piaget's theory is mainly known as a developmental stage theory. Piaget was intrigued by the fact that children of different ages made different kinds of mistakes while solving problems. He also believed that children are not like little adults who may know less. Children just think, speak differently. By Piaget thinking that children have great cognitive abilities, he came up with 4 different cognitive development stages, which he put out into testing. Within those 4 stages, he managed to group them with different ages. Each stage, he realized how children manage to develop their cognitive skills. For example, he believed that children experience the world through actions, representing things with words, thinking logically, and using reasoning. To Piaget, cognitive development was progressive reorganization of mental progress resulting from biological maturation and environmental experience. He believed that children construct an understanding of the world around them, experience discrepancies between what they already know and what they discover in their environment, then adjust their ideas accordingly. Moreover, Piaget claimed that cognitive development is at the center of human organism and language is cognizant on knowledge understanding acquired through cognitive development, child-centered classroom, and open education and direct applications of Piaget's view. Piaget noted that reality is a dynamic system of continuous change. Reality is defined in reference to the 2 conditions that define dynamic system. Specifically, he argued that reality involves transformations and states. Transformations refer to all manners of change that a thing or person can undergo. States refer to the conditions or the appearances in the things or persons can be found between transformations. For example, there might be changes in shape. For instance, liquid are reshaped as they are transferred from one vessel to another. And similarly, human change in their characteristics as they grow older. In size, for example, a toddler does not walk and run without falling. But after 7 years of age, the child sensory motor anatomy is well developed and now acquires skills faster. Or in placement or location in space and time. Thus, Piaget argued if human intelligence is to be adaptive, it must have functions to represent both the transformation and the static aspect of reality. He proposed that operative intelligence is responsible for the representation and manipulation of the dynamic or transformational aspects of reality, and that figurative intelligence is responsible for the representation of the static aspects of reality. Static aspects of reality. First, we talk about the operative intelligence. Is the active aspects of intelligence. It involves all actions, overt or covered, undertaken in order to follow, recover, or anticipate the transformation of the objects or persons of interest. Figurative intelligence is the more or less static aspect of intelligence, involving all means of representation used to retain in mind the states. Piaget stated that this progress of understanding and change involves two basic principles: assimilation and accommodation. Through his study of the field of education, Piaget focused on two processes which he named assimilation and accommodation. To Piaget, assimilation meant integrating external elements into structures of lives or environments, or those we could have through experience. Assimilation is how humans perceive and adapt to new information. It is the process of fitting new information into pre-existing cognitive schemas. Schemas is known as the pockets which is in our memory, and where we save our information in different types of pockets. Assimilation, in which new experiences are reinterpreted to fit into or assimilate with old ideas. It occurs when humans are faced with new or unfamiliar information and refer to previously learned information in order to make sense of it. In contrast, accommodation is the process of taking new information in one's environment and altering pre-existing schemas in order to fit in the new information. This happens when the existing schema means knowledge does not work and needs to be changed to deal with a new object situation. Accommodation is imperative because it is how people will continue to interpret new concepts, schemas, frameworks, and more. Piaget believed that the human brain has been programmed through evolution to bring equilibrium, which is what he believed ultimately influences structures by the internal and external processes through assimilation and accommodation. Piaget's understanding was that assimilation and accommodation cannot exist without the other. They are two sides of a coin, assimilation and accommodation. To assimilate an object into an existing mental schema, one first need to take into account or accommodate to the particularities of this object to a certain extent. For instance, to recognize an apple as an apple, one must first focus on the contour of this object. To do this, one needs to roughly recognize the size of the object. Development increases the balance or equilibration between two functions. When in balance with each other, assimilation and accommodation generate mental schemas of the operative intelligence. When one function dominates over the other, they generate representation which belong to figurative intelligence. Next topic, we discuss the Piaget's sensory motor stages. In Piaget's cognitive development theory, Jean Piaget proposed that humans progress through four developmental stages. First one is sensory motor stage. Second thing, pre-operational stage. Third, concrete operational stage. And fourth one, formal operational stage. First, we talk about the sensory motor stage. When the infant child birth to 2 years, means when they birth and from the birth to 2 years period. The first of these, the sensory motor stage, extends from birth to acquisition of language. In this stage, infants progressively construct knowledge and understanding of the world by coordinating experiences such as vision and hearing. From physical interaction with objects such as grasping, sucking, and stepping, means पकड़ना, चूसना और पैर उठा के चलना. Infants gain knowledge of the world from the physical actions they perform within it. They progress from reflexive instructional action at birth to the beginning of symbolic thought towards the end of the stage. Children learn that they are separate from the environment. They can think about aspects of the environment, even though these may be outside the reach of the children's senses. In this stage, according to Piaget, the development of object permanence is one of the most important accomplishments. Object permanence is a child's understanding that an object continues to to exist even though they cannot see or hear, hiding and revealing of the face. By the end of the sensory motor period, children develop a permanent sense of self and object and will quickly lose interest in pick a book. There are 6 sub-stages of sensory motor stage. First one is simple reflex from birth to 6 weeks. Second thing, first habits and primary circular reactions from 6 weeks to 4 months. Third stage is secondary circular reaction phase from 4 months to 8 months. Coordination of secondary circular reaction stages 8 months to 12 months. Tertiary circular reaction, novelty and curiosity. Curiosity you know very well. 12 to 18 months. And last one, 6th stage is nationalization of schemas from 18 to 24 months. Then next one is pre-operational stage. Pre-operational stage from 2 to 7 years. During this stage, young children can think about things symbolically. This is the ability to make one thing, a word or an object, stand for something other than itself. Thinking is still egocentric, and the infant has difficulty taking the viewpoint of others. By observing sequences of play, Piaget was able to demonstrate that towards the end of the second year, a qualitatively new kind of psychological functioning occurs, known as the pre-operational stage. The second of Piaget's 4 developmental stage, it starts when the child begins to learn to speak at age 2 and lasts up until the stage of 7. During the pre-operational stage of cognitive development, Piaget noted that children do not yet understand concrete logic and cannot mentally manipulate information. Children increase in playing of and pretending takes place, categorized by symbolic play and manipulating symbols. Such play is demonstrated by the ideas of checkers being snacks, pieces of paper being plates, and a box being a table. Their observations of symbols exemplifies the ideas of play with the absence of the actual object involved. Symbolic functions of a stage, sub-stage of pre-operational stage. At about 2 to 4 years of age, children cannot yet manipulate and transform information in a logical way. However, they now can think in images and symbols. Our other examples of mental abilities are language and pretend play. Symbolic play is when children develop imaginary friends, role play with friends. Children's play becomes more social and they assign role to each other. Intuitive thought sub-stage of pre-operational stage. At between about the ages of 4 and 7, children tend to become very curious and ask many questions, beginning the use of primitive reasoning. Third stage is concrete operational stage, from 7 years to 11 years. Piaget considered the concrete stage a major turning point in the child's cognitive development because it marks the beginning of logical or operational thoughts. This means the child can work things out internally in their head. This stage, which follows the pre-operational stage, occurs between the stages of 7 and 11 years and is characterized by the appropriate use of logic. During this stage, a child's sharp thought processes become more mature and adult-like. They start solving problems in a more logical fashion. Abstract, hypothetical thinking is not yet developed in the child, and children can only solve problems that apply to concrete events or objects. At this stage, the children undergo a transition where the child learns rules such as conservation. Piaget determined that children are able to incorporate inductive reasoning. Now, testing for concrete operation. Piaget's tests are well known and practiced to test for concrete operation. The most prevalent tests are those for conservation. There are some important aspects that the experimenter must take into account when performing experiments with these children. Example is an experiment for testing conservation is the water level task. An experimenter will have two glasses that are the same size. Will fill them to the same level of with liquid, which the child will acknowledge is the same. Then the experimenter will pour the liquid from one of the small glasses into a tall, thin glasses. The experimenter will then ask the child if the taller glass has more liquid, less liquid, or the same amount of liquid. The child will then give his answer. The experimenter will ask the child why he gave his answer or why he thinks that is. First, you can justification, number of times asking, word choice, these are the experiments. Now we talk about the last stage of this cognitive development theory, formal operational stage. This stage starts from 12 years to adulthood. Intelligence is demonstrated through the logical use of symbols related to abstract concepts. This form of thought includes assumptions that have no necessary relation to reality. At this point, the person is capable of hypothetical and deductive reasoning. During this time, people develop the ability to think about abstract concepts. Piaget stated that hypothetical deductive reasoning. Piaget and his colleagues conducted several experiments to assess formal operation thought. And the experiments are implemented in the education field. That implications are parents can use Piaget's theory in many ways to support their child's growth. Teachers can also use Piaget's theory, for instance, when discussing whether the syllabus subjects are suitable for the level of students or not. For example, recent studies have shown that children in the same grade and of the same age perform differently on tasks measuring basic addition and subtraction fluency, while children in the pre-operational and concrete operational levels of cognitive development perform combined arithmetic operations with similar accuracy. The implications are focus on the progress of learning rather than the end product of it. Using active methods that require rediscovering or reconstructing truths. Next thing, using collaborative as well as individual activities, devising situations that present useful problems and create disequilibrium in the child. Evaluate the levels of the child's development so suitable tasks can be set. From this cognitive development theory, the Piaget said to the children, those children are known as they are also called as little scientists. Or that's all. Thank you.
I would like to thank dear Avinash Sir for presenting a very beautiful theory of Piaget on cognitive development, which is a must-need topic for developing the child's psychology. And he had shared his idea, which was very useful for us. Thanks, sir.